Alright guys, welcome to Coach's Corner, the best part of the stream. Not often done enough. I still need to do more and more Coach's Corners. But this one, we're going to tackle a topic that we covered a little while ago about UIs in general, making them more raid efficient. Again, I cover a lot of PvE stuff. It's not so much PvP. PvP is still applicable to an extent, but a lot of PvP streamers competitive players will not use any UI add-ons because you don't use them in tournaments and that kind of stuff. You just set up your keybinds in different ways. In any case, we're going to talk a little about UIs, general do's and don'ts for UIs for a tank, healer, DPS, as well as looking at a lot of your UIs. People submitted a ton in the last hour, and thanks for a lot for your submissions. I'll be going through them. I'll be hopefully interviewing Nats, which is one of my former retired raiders, one of our subs here, about his UI and his thought process behind it. But we'll look at a bunch of them. Now, starting off with UIs, where's my notes here? Starting off with UIs, the more of your screen that you can see, so there's a couple little rules that you want to follow in general. The more of your screen that you can see, the better. Because when you're in a raid setting, your attention is focused, in different places. There's a lot going on your screen. If you're in an LFR or a raid setting and there's fire here, or there's doom fires that are traveling towards you, or whatever, it may be hard to see them. If your entire UI over here is blocked up by raid frames or WeakAuras or something else, it might be a lot harder to see. And, being a good raider is, yes, having a good UI, but also seeing what's around you and being proactive with your movements, with your DPS, with all that stuff. And a UI, like a good clean UI, is a tool to help you succeed, like any of these add-ons. So go through some add-ons, some really good UIs, some that probably do need a little bit of help. And a good UI, there's tons of different UIs. Some people like a lot of clutter on their screen as a tank. If you guys have seen our tank Psycho's UI, if you've seen Sko's UI, a lot of those ones, there's a lot of clutter, a lot of stuff going around their characters right around here, and it's stuff that they do need to see, right? But each UI is different. There's no perfect UI out there for you. You have to see what works for you. And my UIs have evolved over the years. I'm going to be changing mine up around the next little while. There's a couple things wrong with my UI. Maybe you guys can give some feedback later on as well as to what's wrong with it, what's good with it. I purposely, put a couple issues with my own Paladin's UI, and you guys can hopefully help figure those things out. Yeah, I know there's a lot of really fun UIs. So in general, the central area of your screen is what's most important. This section right here where I'm hovering my mouse. Let me actually switch my Paladin really quick here. Should have done that a little bit earlier. Switch back to Sparty here. Sparty's UI is a little bit more indicative of my proper UIs. Now, the central area is most important because that's where your character is. That's where the fire is, or the void zones, or where you're standing, and that kind of stuff. That's what is most important. So this section right around here. You don't want your eyes floating all over the screen, so you don't want to put important information off in the corner here or off to the right side here, because your eyes, depending on the size of your monitor, if you're playing on a small 13-inch laptop or whatever, or an old screen, it's not as relevant, but it's still pretty relevant. I have a big 27-inch monitor. It's a big QNX. It's an awesome monitor. I don't want information, important information being on the far side here or away from my character, because I'm typically looking in this section right here at my raid frames, and my character, and my procs, my WeakAuras, and those kinds of things. This is a good opportunity to scrap my UI and redo it. I will totally redo my UI. You'll see. You guys will see a couple examples of UIs I'm looking forward to doing as well, and a couple adjustments I will make. Some here, just for good. But you'll see my UIs. I can even show you my old UI. I don't actually have that one prepped. So, UIs in general. Minimize eye movement, all over the screen here. There's some things you need, some things, well, not necessarily need, but some things that help out and some things that don't help out at all. Again, you want to minimize distractions, focus your attention to your procs or to what's going on. Now, as a healer, here is my voodoo. So I'll show you guys my voodoo in general. So my voodoo, and if I pull my raid frames, where are you? So this is in a 25-man setting. That's how my raid frames look. So there's things going on here. I'm casting my spell. You see my cast bar right here. Casting some more. There's my little WeakAuras here. There's one WeakAura for my infusion of light. There's a big sonar ping telling me I have 3 or more holy power. Make sure to use it. depending on what procs are going on, that kind of stuff, you see different things around my character. Now, there's a candle right over here to the left side. That's another weak aura. That's 2 stacks of daybreak. So it's all fairly close to the middle of my screen. Fairly close. The important information. Where you put things like your bars, I mean, if you're a clicker, fine. We obviously want you to get away from clicking your abilities and obviously to key binding your things. I've run with very minimalistic UIs in the past as well, where I have not shown a lot of these bars because I don't need to. I know, like I've memorized all of my keybinds. I know exactly what every single key is, except for how to open a pet window. I still don't know how to open pet windows or mount windows or anything like that. So, like I have everything bound. I know exactly what to do. So if I need to cast I don't know, I need a couple people in, actually my garrison, whoever wants to help out. Natsu wants to help out, I'm sure he does. Of how I show some of these things. So with UIs, my healer UI, obviously your raid frames, you want to be somewhat close. In the past, I mean, there's been some raid frames where I think Affinity, for those of you that know who Affinity is, he's a top playing monk. He likes to have his raid frame somewhere up here. So when he does play, it's off by his character as well. So he's looking fairly close to his character. He sees the fire around him or under him right here, but he also has, a quick access to his mouse. You want to minimize mouse movement as well. Right, when you're clicking on somebody or healing them or mouse overing, healing on them, you don't want to go all the way over to this side. And I know some people have a UI, like if you're a healer, this is probably a bad place for your raid frames all the way over here. Especially if you're a clicker. If you're clicking your spells and you're clicking, Holy Shock, then this person, and you're going back and forth, it's really inefficient, it's really slow. With your raid frames as a healer, try to centralize them close to your character, somewhere that is not really obtrusive and that's not going to cover up any of the fire or things that you need to stand in or not stand in. That's one little tidbit for you healers there. I don't care Shift P, just Shift P is pets, doesn't matter. So have your raid frame somewhere centralized. Again, with Voodoo, that's what I use. You can use whatever add-on you want, whether it be Grid or Healbot or the LVY frames or Blizzard raid frames, whatever you want, just make it work. There's plenty of pros and cons to every single one of those raid frames. We won't talk about them now, but there's plenty available to you. So I like to have it right here. Is that something I'm going to keep? Maybe. I mean, I thought about going back to here. I played the first 6 years of Sparty, I don't know, up until about Wrath or so, or BC. I don't know, maybe Wrath, I can't remember. With my raid frames off to the side here. And that was my preference, just because I could quickly go back and forth. But again, minimize that movement. Now, what else is important for a healer? Well, some procs and cooldowns and things like that. On the left side here is my cooldowns. So, as a raid leader, I probably want to see these cooldowns. If my cooldowns need to be communicated really well, so hey, Natsu, give me Aspect of the Fox, or Sparta, give me Devotion Aura. Done, there's Devotion Aura. And of course I communicate it as well with my party frames or with whatever add-on. And there you go. There's a weak aura, there's Aspect of the Fox, and Natsu gives me a weak aura that says, hey Sparty, you have Aspect of the Fox active. You can be casting and running now at the same time. So that again is a weak aura close to the middle of my screen so I can see it, because that's where my eyes are looking. I don't want to have a weak aura that is off to the really far side there. Here's another example of my weak auras. So for those of you that use weak auras are a fantastic tool for tracking your procs, debuffs, buffs, things you're standing in, things that you want to, your timers for your trinkets, all that stuff. It is fantastic. So here are my weak auras, every single one of them. Now, initially this looks like a giant, cluster of many things. You see, okay, here's another example of one of my weak auras. So in the middle here, there is my Seal of Insight. Now, for those of you that are, a tank, like a Protection Paladin, I saw on Conrad's UI, he has a big Righteous Fury above his screen. If you're forgetting that buff, it's in the middle of your screen, hey, don't be, a dumbass and hit your buff. Here's an example of this one. So let's say I'm switching talents. I have this thing in the middle of my screen. I can't see my character. It's really obnoxious. That reminds me, hey, you don't have one of your most important buffs up. It's definitely the most important one for a Holy Paladin, Seal of Insight. Increases your healing by 5%, gives melee attacks, whatever, but it's 5% free healing. And make sure you always have that buff up. There's no reason you shouldn't. If you're a Paladin, Protection Paladin, you should have Righteous Fury up, right? If you're, depending on the Warlock that you are, I have a Warlock weak aura that says, hey, Sparty, for this certain spec, make sure you have a pet out. Or you forgot to sacrifice your pet. Don't forget. So those things do help. Yeah, WeakAuras is an add-on. It is an add-on. You can look for it on Curse. But yeah, it's fantastic. So again, raid frames I have, or sorry, my Blood Legion cooldown, that's one add-on. We used Hermes before. There's another one out there as well. I forgot the name of it. But if you're a raid leader or somebody like that, maybe you want to track these raid cooldowns. In Blood Legion cooldown, I can choose different cooldowns that I want to track or not. Is that important for everybody? If you're a DPSer, not necessarily. Someone like Natsu here, which is a DPS, and he's not a raid leader, he probably doesn't need to track these cooldowns or call for them or whatever. It's really not relevant for him. For him, I'm sure you'd rather have more real estate to see what's going on the screen. Perfect. Good. That's good. What else was I going to go through here? Raid frames. So back to WeakAuras. Now with WeakAuras, there's a lot of stuff to track. These are some just for right now. I've got some ret ones here as well. The big issue, and I guess some of you guys can sort of guess, what's wrong with my WeakAuras right now? Especially if you're really OCD, they're just sort of jumbled all over the place. Some of you guys have released some fantastic ones. Dell, I don't know if Dell's around. Dell had a really great WeakAuras, or really great UI. Shuttle had a really great one. I couldn't save Shuttles to a screenshot, but it was another fantastic one where the add-ons are grouped together. Or there was a good ret one, and they're all grouped together, whether they be debuffs or buffs or whatever. This stuff's just all over the place. One of the best things I could do to my own UI is clean everything up, resize these things. So if I look at my lawful words here, I could resize it maybe over here. Light's favor, make them the same size. You just play around with it. It takes a little bit of time to perfect these things. Yeah, this is Legend Cooldown, thank you. Power Auras, if you're still using Power Auras, that's fine too. Power Auras is really, really old, and it was a fantastic add-on years and years ago, but I'm not sure it's still updated at all anymore. Yeah, WeakAuras track tons of things. So here's another one. Thundering Blows on Chromog. You know that ability that knocks you up in the air? For Mythic, it's important. For a Paladin, I can Blessing Protection myself, and I know exactly how long it's going to last. So this is a timer for it. What other... Mark of Chaos range, that was a good one for Imperator. I've got a lot of little WeakAuras that aren't active right now. There's Aspect of the Pack here, Raid Whispers. So if I'm doing interrupts, instead of having... So here's another good example. If you're part of an interrupt rotation, so let's say there's 2 rogues, a warrior, a ret paladin, interrupting, and you're going one rogue, then next rogue, then ret paladin, then warrior. A WeakAura that helps whisper the next person or show who just interrupted does help out as well. So that way you don't have to move your eyes all the way to the left side here and say, okay, so-and-so interrupted, back on my screen and back to interrupting. Not super important, or super efficient. Right over here on, like in the middle of my screen, I can see, so-and-so just interrupted. I'll get the next one. Would you suggest the Blood Legion thing for healers? Yeah, for sure. It's helpful. Healing is a whole different ballgame compared to any other kind of raiding, just because there's so many decisions going on in your head. And tracking cooldowns, I would say, is pretty damn important, for sure. Absolutely. Are people that are coordinating cooldown timers? Yeah, it's important for those kinds of things. Now, with your boss mods, so there's DXC, Deus Vox Encounters. People don't really use that one. There's DBM, which is pretty popular with the voice encounter add-on that I've been using, and everybody asks about that one. There's Bigwigs. There's what else? There's one more add-on that I forgot. But there's another really good one for boss mods. Whatever you want to use for boss mods, totally fine. Now, what about timers? So for boss mods, and again, this is for all raiders, depending on the type of raider you are, is where you may want to put some of your... I have a haze. Hey, stupid, you're standing in a wretched Blackrock Forewarder. Can you share that WeakAura, please? So your timers here. So under DBM is what I use, plus the voice encounter. If I go under... Where's bar setup here? Move me. This shows me where some of the bars are going. And the other one is start test bars. So check this out. So remember what I said about having a centralized location? Some things you want to track, and some things you don't want to track. Towley says hi. Thanks for putting my Coach's Corner. Towley, much appreciated. Congrats on 4 years anniversary. I'm wearing my Towley shirt, if you guys can see this, because my golden hammers up shirt has not arrived yet to Kanakistan here. So hammers up. Thanks a lot for the the host, guys. Much appreciated. Fantastic. Can I link that Raid Whisper one? Sure, just remind me after the stream, big totems, and I will post it in my WeakAuras section. That's fantastic. So, back to bar mods. Yes, hammers up, yes. Tally's 4th anniversary. I set the tally for 2 years. But we're doing Coach's Corner now, not Tau Jesus. So, back to this. So, boss mods, right? Boss mods and their timers, where do you want to place them? So, under DBM has a really cool option here where you can start the test bars. There. These are the little bars. That's where it's starting up. So this is, you know, a fake boss that has started. There's a bar on my screen. Is that good? Test bar expired. That's fine. Another bar coming up here. Pew pew. That's another big one. And here it comes. There's a little more warnings. It's good to test. Is that all pretty centralized? Yeah, that's great. Should I have these things over here to the far right side? Yes and no, depending on the type of player you are. If you're a healer, DPS, whatever, you may not want to have them over there. So what we can do here,
4,
and there's another countdown.
2, 1.
Evil spell in 5 seconds. You know, use your devotion aura. There it is. Or use your personal cooldown. Or we have a boom ability as well. That's what to explode. Boom in 10 seconds. And again, it's all very centralized, close to my character.
4, 3, 2, 1. Destruction.
There you go, the big boom ability, yeah. And he uses his deterrence as well. So the ability to move your bars around, and a lot of these add-ons are very flexible in the sense that you can change these things around, you can change the warnings, you can make your own voice packs. We have a great voice pack as well from one of our former mods, subs, and whatever. I mean, she made a lot of them as well. I use default UI with default Blizzard frames with most of our macros, my only add-ons DBM. That works. Whatever works for you. There's plenty of tools. There is no wrong or right tool out there. It's whatever works for you. And there's plenty of them. You just have to, keep trying new things. Experiment with different add-ons. In terms of raid warnings as well, or sorry, bar setup, I can move them. Is this a great place for some of them? Probably not. I may want to move these back up here now. So when I do look at my bars or my character, I don't have to avert my eyes off to the far right side, but just a little bit more of a centralized position. One thing that people have complained about as well is that my bars here were overlapping. So if I went to my move me bars, or just some more add-ons, people complain that, hey, Sparty, your DBM thing is being covered by your cast bar, which of course I moved over, right? Because you can't see anything. Like, you can't see the actual thing. So there, right above my raid frames is where I wanted to keep it. That works for me. Link to basement chat. Thanks, Kev. Well, you could have imported it or whatever. Here's another really good one. This one is from Kev. So this WeakAuras is from Kev. Let's import this one. And I had a whole thing on WeakAuras, a different coach's corner. Oh, that's the wrong one. Error decompressing. Let's try again here. Oh, it's somebody's email. There we go. Let's try this one. So this is another great one that says, hey, don't be a dumbass. You're standing in Wretched Blackrock. For those of you that know the Orgorger fight, the thing that he throws at ranged people, including hunters and melee range, he throws out a debuff here, and it says, hey, if you're standing in Wretched Blackrock, it says move, whatever. You're standing in Wretched Blackrock. Again, make sure it's a centralized position so you can see it. That is, the middle of your screen, so you move out. So those things are pretty important. Perfect. I'll go through your UIs in a sec here as well, guys. I will, for sure. Can we vote for a Sparty most informative workout streamer? We're here to build a community and help everybody out, and make you guys the next generation of good raiders. You think that Slootbag and all those other players, and I don't know who else, Trekkie, Kangen, Tauli, all those, like, they're really, the good gamers, they came out of their moms with a joystick in hand and they were awesome. No, it takes time. It's a learned skill, right? We're here to share our knowledge with you guys to make you guys better players. You got to start off somewhere as a noob, LFR 0 to hero to mythic raider. And it does happen. You grow. It's all a learned trait, a learned skill. It takes time to develop those abilities. They're not like mutant abilities, but they're the skills to become a better raider. The raid awareness, the situational awareness takes time, and UIs are a big part of it as well. So again, my WeakAuras are sort of all over the place. They can be corrected, right? They need to be moved around. My Siege Bomb, what boss of the Siege Bomb? I can't even remember now. Yeah, there's my Seal of Insight, a couple little procs here. As a healer, some of these procs are pretty important. As a red, as a red paladin, so as a DPS. So okay, as a healer, most important thing, make sure your UI is clear. Your rate frames are pretty close to your actual character, so that you minimize mouse movement, right? You can see what abilities are up. Here I've made my bars a lot bigger because this is where some of my important abilities are being tracked. I think Dell and Shuttle, two other really good paladins, they keep their abilities around their rate frames, so it's even better. So think of, here, I'm going to move this around. Think of this right there. This is a really good one. This is another example here. So there, I'm looking around at my rate frames. Here I see in my peripheral vision that Holy Shock's still on cooldown, or I have Avenging Wrath available. This is another really good setup where people have their cooldowns available. Here's the Hand of Sacrifice on Natsu, or Blessing of Protection, or or whatever, or Hand of Freedom, all those things. But you can sort of see that they're available. And yeah, there's another. It's all there's my personal cooldown. There's a lay hands. I can't lay hands on him now, I guess. Okay. Anyway, those things do help out with your UI. Just make sure it's close. Minimize how much your eyes have to travel. Ideally, it's close enough. I'll fix this later on. So again, LVUI is a good good starting package because it gives you everything like this, where you're able to just go. Your player buffs, your debuffs, everything you can probably see or don't need to see. I don't show my micro bar here. That's the one with the shop and the pets and mounts because I don't really care. I don't really need to access it. If I ever need to access it, I'll either use the shortcut command or I will just turn it on. Things that are important as well, the alternative power bar. So whether you're gaining bad debuffs on a fight like Norushen or mind control power or in Hellfire, this is going to be important as well for some of the fights. This alternative power bar, the boss button ability, this is the one that pops up. For example, on Blast Furnace, when you have a bomb on you, this button pops up. Where do you want it? Well, obviously not in the far side here, but right here in the middle of my screen where I can see it nonstop. So again, this is prime real estate. This is where you put your important things. On the far sides, you don't really need those. As a DPS, okay, so we're talking about healers a little bit. As a DPS, what's important? Well, your procs. What is most important as a DPS? For those of you that are there, what is most important? Well, obviously, topping the meters. Yeah, yes and no. Okay, listen, DPS is not all about topping the meters. A good raider is situationally aware. You're tracking your procs. You know what's around you. You know which of your raiders are alive. If you're a druid, if you're a death knight or a warlock, what else should you be aware of? Do you think the healers and tanks are the only ones that can combat res? No. No. Again, this is a team game, right? Yes, procs. Not dying, yes. But you need to have some kind of raid frame. Should your raid frames be in the middle of your screen here? No, they shouldn't, right? Maybe you want them off to the side there, but they should be visible enough that if somebody dies, you can res them really quick. Again, do the math through DPS. 2 DPS do more DPS than 1, right? So you not rezzing somebody and you finishing your cast for the next 10 seconds does not do more DPS than 2 people alive. You gain a lot more raid DPS, and yes, you lose a little bit of personal DPS, but don't be a scumbag. Don't be, one of those scumbag DPSers, but just res somebody really quick. Get back into the fight. It's a team game, and your raid DPS will increase, which means you kill the boss. If you just want DPS all by yourself, you're really just going to get pissed off. And I yell at my raiders until they learn to res immediately. And so my raiders right now, they're fantastic. They're spot-on reses. So, why would I druid res with a 3-second cast when druid can insta-res? But that's the thing, though. I mean, every situation is different. No funny jokes, Tyler. Horror Pringle, thanks for subbing as well. Much appreciated. Sorry, I got to put my notifiers back on here. Thanks a lot, Horror Pringle, for the sub. Howard Hunter. Well, I'm just saying. Listen, just relax, people. Padding the meters. Sorry, did I miss Dell's screenshot? I'm scrolling up here. Okay. So yes, procs are important. As a DPS player, let me switch to my Warlock really quick here, where he may have some of the procs. I know he had a lot of really good procs from last year. And Talaror, thanks for resubbing. Much appreciated. Thanks a lot, Talaror. That's Driaz laughing in the background there. So quickly to my Warlock's UI, he's tracking some important things as well. As a DPSer, procs are important. Procs are your life, because as a good DPSer, you're knowing when to use your big cooldowns. relative to your procs. When your ring procs and your weapon procs and your 4-piece procs, that's when you use your big cooldowns and just unload all over the boss's face, right? You just go all over the boss. And here, I'm tracking a couple of things with my Warlock. It's a very similar UI setup. I know it's pretty ugly, but it's my alt. Same thing for WeakAuras. I've got a couple here. Some of them have been saved. Again, I've got a big pet one. I've got my demonology stuff. So if I go over to, let's go to my training dummy. And again, procs important as demonology, and demonology is obviously the best spec right now. It's going to change in 6.2. What destruction, affliction, warlocks? I'm pretty sure, right? Going wild in Spartacus Garrison. Don't steal my stuff, man. Don't. So in terms of, don't look at my rotation here. So there, I'm tracking my dots. So instead of actually tracking your dots over the, each thing there, I can do that. This WeakAuras shows me, hey, this is how much time is left on your corruption, or this little number right here is how much fury you have as a demonology warlock. And this right here is how many molten core procs you have. Those things are important. Yeah, this cast bar can be fixed, but in general, tracking your things as a DPS is super important. There's some cooldowns here. Let's throw some pots up. There's Doom, again, DPSing. How many molten cores do I have? Only one, so then I would use my other stuff. But knowing how to use your UI is pretty important. Tracking those procs in the middle of your screen, even more vitally important, right? I've got a thing on the left side here that says molten core is procced, and to be using my my hasted soul fires. So those things are important for for a DPS to track those procs, track everything, and knowing when to use your spells. That that's a measure of a good player too, right? So basically, roll a non-battle. No, don't reroll a non-DPS class. Anyway, what else for DPS is important? Raid frames. My raid frames are still over here, just because I like to have them in the same way that my paladin has them, just in the middle of my screen here, just under. They're not really blocking any fire or anything like that on the ground. As a tank, what is important for you guys? Those of you that play tank classes or tank alts. Excuse me, what is important? Well, cooldowns are important, right? Should you, as a tank, be aware of what cooldowns are available? Your pain suppression, or another priest pain suppression, your druids, iron barks, your paladins, their hand of sacrifices, your life cocoons, your guardian spirit. Should you be aware of those things? Absolutely. So having an add-on like Blood Legion cooldown or Hermes or whatever that tracks the raid's cooldown, especially in that larger raid setting, is vitally important. You want to know those things, because when you're in a 20-man mythic group and you have 2 paladins in your group, or you have a number of cooldown players, as a tank, you're not just going to ask, "Hey guys, I need a cooldown." Everybody's going to blow their load and and give you a major cooldown. You will take 0 damage for the next 10 seconds. For the next 10 seconds, you are invincible. But everybody has blown their cooldown. That is not an efficient use of cooldowns. You want to communicate, and that's a whole different topic of communication. Maybe our next Coach's Corner, how to communicate better. You want to call for a specific cooldown. So Sparty, when Tali asks for a Hand of Sacrifice, Sparty, Hand of Sac. Psycho, Vigilance, right? He asks for a specific person, because he can check on his Bludgeon cooldown or whatever add-on he uses, hey, give me a cooldown, I need it. And that tank is measuring, okay, this much damage is going in, how much damage do I need to reduce? Based on my cooldowns. Is my Shield of the Righteous up? Is my my Divine Protection up? What cooldowns do I have available? How much damage do I actually need to mitigate? What else here? Tell Me When is another great one. Yes, Tell Me When is a fantastic add-on as well. It is awesome. As a DPSer, why is it important to see combat text on my screen? I've heals damage done, never understood it. That's a good question, and I was going to cover that in my notes here. So why is it important to see these things in the middle? Is it important? Well, the answer is yes and no. As a healer, to an extent, it is important, and as a DPSer as well. So depending on, fonts are obviously not important. Whatever you can read, whatever looks really cool, that's fine. Fonts are not a big deal. These scrolling texts that are around here, or often you see them on the right side of people's screens. Let me go find one here. This is, I think, a Skullflower's UI. This right here. There. And can I doodle on this one? I can't doodle on this one. Wait 1 sec here. Actually, I can. Let me doodle on this one. So, whatever scrolling combat text, mixed scrolling battle text, or whatever, here's an example. I'm going to draw on this screenshot here. This is like a Skullflower UI, the default run, right? These right here, this stuff, or this stuff, or this stuff, these are the scrolling text that we're talking about, right? You guys can see this? Yeah. So over here on the left side, that's damage taken. That's how much damage the person's taking right now. Another one is just straight up damage, how much they're doing to their, like the other characters it looks like, and this one looks like a main character. I'm not exactly sure because I don't play with this UI. Is it important? You want to know how many targets something is hitting. So whether it be a debuff, or whether it be an AoE, or if you're healing, I need to know if I'm hitting the right amount of people with my spells. If there's 10 targets up and I see that it's only hitting 8 people, you see a times 4 here. You see that's hitting 4 people. Well, if it's hitting 4 people but there's 10 targets around here, I'm doing something wrong or something else is happening. And knowing to read your text here where it's important, that can be pretty relevant as well. It's crits? Oh, perfect, thank you. It's crits. So right here is crits. Yeah, I see little asterisks now. Right there, little asterisks. Yeah, crits right here. I mean, if you're basing things off crits, that's important too, sure. What else did I miss? Angry Assignments is really good. Yeah, Angry Assignments is another fantastic one. Yes. What does Tell Me When? Tell Me When Machiavellia is like WeakAuras. It tells you when something's proccing or when you're standing in fire. A lot of it just pre-made WeakAuras or pre-made things for you. This add-on specifically, this is Skullflower's UI. You can download it as well. So that's a pretty standard one, and he's a DPSer or a tank or whatever. He has his raid frames here. Raid frames are important. I don't care if you're a DPS. Raid frames are important for you. You have to know who's alive, who's in range. If you're a DPS sitting in the middle of friggin' Somalia on a certain fight, how do you know how many healers are in range of you? Is it your responsibility to be in range of your healers as a DPS? I would say, yeah, it's both your responsibility and the healer's responsibility. You can't just stand off in a corner somewhere over here and expect everybody to heal you. No, I mean, it's raid-wide damage going out. Things are going to hit you. You are going to die. Do I use scrolling combat text when I'm healing? I mean, I have this stuff. I have the Blizzard. I have the Blizzard stuff right now, and it's important, not important. I really don't care for it too much. Like, that's not what I'm tracking. I know, based off how my raiders play and where they're standing on every single fight, how many targets my my Holy Radiance is going to hit. I know exactly how many. Calface, I have to answer your question later on. I can't answer it during the stream with your guild. I'd love to answer. Just ask me later on. I have limited time for this Coach's Corner, so I just got to get through stuff really quick. I apologize. Okay, that was WeakAuras here. So, in terms of other add-ons that are important... Okay, question for you guys on stream here. Are damage meters and healing meters important? This right here, is it important? If I go over to, again, my my training dummies, is it important? Well, what do you guys think here? Yes, because I have to know if I'm topping the meters. Well, realistically, though, like, as a heroic or mythic raider, do you need to see, are your eyes constantly going over to, to what's going on here? Yes or no? Like, there's healing... There's some damage. No, you're not constantly looking over there to see if you're topping the meters. If you are, I would say no. Just turn it off. It's distracting. You don't need to see on a fight-by-fight basis, or like every single fight, what your damage or healing is. Between fights, yes, 100%. If you're using logs or whatever. The only reason I have my shit up is for you guys. When I stream, people want to see, who's doing the most damage or healing or whatever, or what's going on. That is the only reason I have SCADA here, my multiple windows open. That's it. I'll have other windows open, like who's interrupting right now, right? Like if I'm looking at interrupts on a certain fight, I want to know who's interrupting so I can see the order of interrupts. Is healing and damage important? Not really. Unless you're doing something glaringly wrong, you do it between fights. You're not going through your healing rotation, your DPS rotation, and you're constantly analyzing, I wonder, what the other paladin's doing in the raid, or the druid, why are they topping the meters while you're healing? Because you're distracted over here, and then over here, the rest of the raid is going on. So do you need to be showing that? No. I mean, it's also potential, good real estate. Some people need SCADA for buff up times. Yeah, I mean, but for damage and healing meters, it is not important. It is not. What difference does it make to see it? Well, this right here, so if it's full of, I don't know, I'd have to go to an LFR or something, but if it's full of, numbers, colors, whatever, this is something that you could have seen on your screen. You could have seen more of the raid area. Again, being more situationally aware as a raider is super important. Does it make a difference? Well, it's this much more of your screen you can see. Do you need your mini-map for most raids? Not really, right? That's why it's so small. For some raids, yeah, you use it a little bit. For some bosses, but to an extent, no.
I brought some salad rolls home.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm gonna cut them in half, and you can have half of each then.
Fantastic, thank you. Damage done is more important than DPS. Damage taken is also a good feature. Yeah, yes, those are important, but between fights. So if you're doing an achievement or something, fine. If you want to see who's standing in damage or who's standing in fire, fine. As a raid leader, maybe. But for the average player, you don't need to see these while the fight is going on. That's my point. You don't need to see them. You can turn it on and off every single time, and that's fine, or just hide and show with the LDUI feature or whatever. But you don't need to see it every single time. If something's going on wrong mid-fight, I glance at the meters to see if someone's doing crappy. That's what I mean. Like, as a raid leader, if I don't see, if I know there's a fight where my mages do really well, and I see only one mage doing damage, and I see one mage doing next to nothing, I ask, hey, did so-and-so DC? Right? We want to see if somebody DC'd, or if something's going on, or if they're lagging, or whatever. That's where it'd be more important. But for the average player, it is totally irrelevant to see damage, healing, whatever. What macros do I use? I use a ton of macros. Christian Bale, thanks. So, is it important? Not so much. Okay, where's my other thing here? Cast bars. So if you're a caster or whatever, you again want to have them in a centralized location. For those of you that use, latency things where you always want to be casting, make sure you're always weaving your spells really well and not be waiting next spell, waiting, right? You always want to be maximizing your casts. Or, again, why is it important? So on a fight like Hans and Franz, what does Hans and Franz do to you casters? He interrupts. So Hans and Franz has an interrupt timer. I have that interrupt timer right next to my cast bar. So when I'm casting, I see another timer underneath. Can I squeeze off my heal before the interrupt timer goes off? That's why having a cast bar pretty centralized is important as well. What else? I already said it was important. Oh, okay. Sorry. That's fine, Helena. That's fine. Okay. Scrolling text, fonts we covered, cast bars in good place, DBM, where to position your bars, where not to. Meters aren't important. But the biggest rule for UIs in general is make sure the information that is necessary for your spec can be viewed while keeping your focus on the middle of your screen. So relevant things, whether it be DPS procs. Here's another example. Let me go right to a training dummy and show you guys what I mean. I have a couple of WeakAuras for my ret spec. I don't play ret. I just pretend to be one on TV, like a doctor, and an actor, and a writer named Castle. So go ret really quick here. Tick tock, tick tock. All right. So if I go to my red set here, let me move my ray frames away again. I'll move my ray frames over here. So here, close to my screen, I have an add-on called CLC Ret. Not super accurate, but it does help me with my ret rotation. That really just mash whatever lights up. There, I'm mashing furiously at my keys. I know which keys hit next. There's Divine Purpose. I know Divine Purpose is important for ret paladins and their procs. Throw some more cooldowns up here. I know which abilities to hit next. That kind of stuff. A potion's going. I'm doing a little bit of damage. And again, my Art of War is proc, which means, I can do my Divine Purposes, or, sorry, my other thing's going to give me 3 Holy Power now. There you go. So if you know which proc is which, it's easier to track, which ability is going to be next. So having them in a centralized location is important for a DPS, lots of little procs and things like that. Now I want to go through some UIs and give feedback, and maybe you guys can give some suggestions that you think would be better for some of these players. Okay, this is a really old UI. This one is from what fight? This is from... Oh, sweetie. This is Hodir, I believe. Yeah, this is Hodir. So this was somebody's UI back in Ulduar. This one's a giant mess. This is what I mean by real estate. How much can you see? Like, what is going on here? They have party frames, which is off on the left side here. So let me zoom in for you guys. Doodle. So they have party frames here. They have their meters here, which they don't need. They have one set of raid frames here. I think that's grid. They have their other, frames over here. They have every single ability, including the ones they don't use. They have professions over here as well. You don't need this stuff. All your bear form, cat form garbage, you don't need this. They've got like threat meters over here. They've got their buffs over here. They've got, you know, their target. One sec here. Their target here. No, that's themselves there with all their buffs. They've got the boss here with the debuffs as a healer. Is it completely relevant? Is it super important for you guys to know what debuffs the boss has besides your own? Is it super important? Not necessarily. Of course, they've got their chat window here, whatever. You know, flash freeze is happening. Well, also storm cloud is happening, and there's your timers for your. I guess he's Moonkin here. You got a couple procs. Your Nature's Grace. He's got his things here. Like, this is just a cluster of just. What is going on? This is what I mean, right? Like, you could see so much. You could see so much more. So this is an example of a UI that has too much information. It is too distracting. You're going to be standing in fire, or in this case, frost all day long. You will never know. You will have WeakAuras yelling at you nonstop, hey, you're standing in frost, but you won't know because there's a million friggin' things going on. Anyway, that's my rant on this big UI here. What other UI did I want to take a look at here? Here's another example. Same kind of thing here. Just too much going on in this UI. He's getting... if you look at the top here, this guy is getting... Can I... One sec here. Doodle... view raw image. There. Okay, this guy right here... Come on, Doodle. Let me doodle. No? Okay. In the top left of the screen, he's getting 8 FPS. No wonder, because he has so many friggin' add-ons running. You don't need all this stuff, right? It's too much information. Yes, kill with fire. Like, that's why you're getting 8 FPS. If you guys are suffering from low FPS right now, it could be due to your mass amount of add-ons and your potato computers, but your mass amount of add-ons are also contributing to the thing. So you don't want something like that. Whose was this? This is a really good one. This one's pretty good. This is a pretty standard UI. This is Yendar's from our stream. You see a lot of WeakAuras, but this is what I meant by grouped WeakAuras. All of these WeakAuras are not being shown. Let me go to my doodle mode here. So, this little thing of WeakAuras, that's not all being shown at once. It collapses. So, if only one debuff is on him, so these are all his debuffs. Okay, this is a really good example of a pretty solid Raider UI. If he is fixated, for example, by Kargath, one of the cats, he'll have this little thing, or a different fixate, or whatever. If he has a rend debuff from Beastlord, he'll have this on him. If he has a fire on him from Thogar, he'll see this on him. And it collapses all of them, so they're all in the middle of his screen, right above his character. He's seeing his procs, so all of his cooldowns, and, I mean, there's Heroism, there's, the other abilities here, all of his procs and things are right over here. More of his stuff over here. Like, the important stuff is in the middle of his screen and right around his character. He's got some bars here. He's got his other bars here for abilities. That's pretty centralized. I mean, he doesn't need all this stuff, but, I mean, like 90% of us play with the meters anyway, right? Not that they're necessary. Things that are not necessary, obviously, are his profession things over here on the right side. His pet things, like, he's not going to be using them a lot, so they're off to the far side of his screen. So if you want to show those things, they're off to the far side of his screen. His bars here, nice and low. They're not in the middle of his screen. He's got his character. That's fine. I'm guessing he's got a target frame somewhere over here to the right side. But again, it's tracking. This is where WeakAuras is really good. It shows everything that you need. And of course, he's got his UI on the left, or his chat on the left side. That's a pretty solid one. One sec. Vudex UI. Okay, take a look here. Let's take a look at another one. This was who? Here. Let me look at a very minimalistic UI. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, this is a DPS UI with WeakAuras. Look how much more you can see on your screen. This is Techfire's UI from our stream. This is when his WeakAuras are being procced, or being procced, and when they're not. There's another example. You know, you can sort of see what's going on in terms of meter. It's fine if you want to keep them on. This is a good, clean-looking UI. You can see on the left side here, let me go to doodle mode. You can see on the left side of his screen, right here, his raid frames. You can see these guys are out of range right now. Well, knowing who your healers are, you know who's out of range. These guys are obviously in range. His procs, you know, when he's getting little procs, or his fire, or combustion, or whatever. Again, same thing here with his WeakAuras. As a fire mage, what's relevant? You know, these kinds of things. When your potion's up, heroism, whatever. Again, you know, his bomb stuff or bombing things. So, it's all pretty damn good. How do you do WeakAuras? WeakAuras, you can download them. There's a lot available. You don't have to make WeakAuras. For those of you, like for a DPS or healer, you don't have to make them. I pretty much guarantee they're all available already. Just where do you find them? Talk to players with your class. See if they have WeakAuras. I talk to other paladins. I talk to other DPSers. Like if I'm playing my alt, I'll talk to other good warlocks. Hey, can you share some WeakAuras with me? You know, give me some demonology one or destruction ones, or something that tracks your procs, your ring proc, your whatever. So there's another pretty minimalistic UI. Look how much more he can see. He can see everything around him. If he's zoomed, you know, top down as well, like this, he would see a crap ton more. Right? Obviously, you want to zoom out as far as you can in general as a raider because you want to see much of the screen. When people play RTS games, they don't zoom in like this, right? I've only ever known one player to ever play in first-person view, a tank. It did not turn out well for him. You don't want to play in first person because again, how situationally aware are you in first person? That sweet tank of mine, many years ago, he stopped playing. Anyway, you know, there would be stuff behind him, and hey, Ryo, there's stuff behind you. Where? What? Where? Oh, it's over there. Let me go find it, guys. Sorry, guys. He's gonna taunt, and oh, stuff behind you. Okay, you know, you want to be situationally aware, zoomed out, see more of your screen. So, Techfire plays on 17-inch monitors, so it makes a difference, and that's exactly it too. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Let me take a look at another UI here. So Techfire's was good. I had a couple more. Okay, I had a couple submissions here. Let me take a look at them. Yeah, that was Techfire's UI. This was another really good one. This was, I can't remember who was, Zirk? Yeah, Zirk submitted one as well. This is pretty good, a pretty standard one. Yeah, damage, healing, that kind of stuff. It's a pretty symmetrical one. I can't remember what it's based off of. Like, Tal uses a very similar UI to this, I think. Again, abilities are in the middle of the screen. Characters in the middle, you know, procs and that kind of stuff is being tracked as well. That was a good one. This one was... Okay, so I had a couple tank UIs that were submitted. I want to go with this one. Oh, here, there's the other one. Perfect. This is the WeakAuras version. So, as a rogue, what's important? Your procs, your cooldowns, when your poisons are on something, how many combo points you have, and this is again a very centralized UI. He's looking in the middle of his screen, what he's stabbing, or stabbing in the back, which poisons are up or not up on the top here. You know, WeakAuras all around. That's where you want your WeakAuras, around your character like that. Perfect. Yeah, it was LUI. Thank you. Let's see, that lockpick. There was a couple more here I wanted to show you guys. Now, one of my viewers also had yes, okay, perfect. So this is Alita's UI. Not here, you know, not here to pick on her. But okay, this is her actual UI right now. What could you guys see that we can improve with her UI from what we see right here? So on the left, let me go into paint here. Maybe paint's a little bit better. Yeah, I guess we can sort of paint. That's fine. So what can we do to fix Alita's UI? What can make it better? So she's clearly a healer, based off her spec choices here. She's disc or holy or something. How could we make her UI better? As a healer, is it relevant, Alita, for you to see all of... Let me make it a little bit... How do I paint? How do I use paint? Where is paint? Let's make things bigger. I need a bigger brush. There. There, okay. Do you need to see all the debuffs? Like this is prime real estate. All of this stuff right here, this is prime real estate. Do you need to see this? Not really. As a healer, you don't need to see the duration of somebody else's Serpent Sting. You don't give any shits about the DPS and their cooldowns. Somebody's Rain of Fire, you don't care. It doesn't matter. So one thing we can do is probably move this away from your screen. I mean, maybe Alita you run on a small monitor, that's fine too. Maybe Alita, you know, her vision's really bad. I don't know, guys. I don't know. So one thing we want to do is probably scale it down, make things a little bit smaller. Your Raidrums as a healer, fine, make them nice and big, but probably you want to scale things a little bit more. When my vision gets really bad, I put on my glasses, right? Like I wear my glasses to see better in the chat and that kind of stuff. Yeah, how do I paint? So she has Blood Legion cooldown on the left side here. If you guys can see that, that's fine. I think that's great as a healer. Could probably scale down your recount. Now, in terms of add-ons, guys, Skada or recount, which is better? For the average player, for most of you guys, you don't need a recount. Recount number 1 takes up more memory, which means more lag for some of you guys. You don't need a recount. It has a lot of really cool features. That feature is a lot better on a recount. It has really cool real-time graphs. You don't need those as the average normal heroic mythic raider. You don't need them. Skada, multiple windows, more versatile, less memory. That's it. Her raid frames are way too big. Yeah, it's a thing. Like, they're a little bit too big here. These kinds of things. So she's tracking her own buffs, which is fine. It's good to track your own, your evangelism, your words of mending, that kind of stuff, your cooldown on those things. It's good to track those things, but you probably scale it down a little bit, right? Scale her UI down. It doesn't need to be ginormous. Again, like I have a 27-inch screen. My UI is scaled for this screen specifically. Like I don't want to have my raid frames super big or my WeakAuras or whatever. Move raid frames down. So again, a lot of suggestions for Alita here. Move the raid frames down further, yeah, because you don't need to see this thing here either, right? I mean, it's who you're targeting, fine, but you don't need to see these things. It doesn't, like, it's not relevant. It's not important. Try for a more minimalistic approach. Just scale everything down. Move it out of your way. Yes, you can see your character, which is right here. I guess I'm drawing a face. But, and I like how far you've zoomed out. How do I undo? There. You can see your character right in the middle, there, but you don't need to, track all these things. Just scale it down. Make it a lot smaller. If you're going to keep people's raid frames or whatever, and here, I have my my target frame, or my player frame on the left side, and my target frame on the right side. Then I used to have target's target. Perfect. I'll help Dells. Excellent. Yeah, and that's fine, and that's totally fine. So, one sec. Okay, another really good UI. This is fantastic. Yeah, I like this spell in one. Yeah, you should with this. I totally forgot where I put this UI here. Thanks, Del. Okay, so Alita says, I mean, her vision's not that good. That's part of the reason why her scale is in such a way, which is fine. But maybe she just wants to move things off to the side a little bit more so she can see more of her screen. I mean, if your vision's so, like, it's whatever. Everyone has different vision, and nobody's perfect. Move things away. Just move them off to the side a little bit more. That's all. The best suggestion. I mean, you're tracking a rep as well here in the bottom right, or the bottom, your Netherwing rep. You don't need to track it, especially in a raid. It's more potential. It's real estate, right? More things to see. Okay. We went through that one. So there was a tank UI. Yeah, we went through this one. This was whose UI? One sec here. I've had a couple other UIs that people submitted. Yeah, so originally, Flammy, one of my subs, is a tank as well. This is his. So he's tracking, important things, his procs, that kind of stuff. This was his original UI, Flammy the DK. Here he is tanking Blood Maul Slag Mines. He's got his party frames off to the left side. He's got his raid markers off the left side as well, which is fantastic. Quest, whatever, being tracked. So it's a pretty general UI. Who he's hitting, yes and no, that's important. And then he switched over to this UI, I believe, tracking more things, which is more of a Skullflower UI as well. Delete this one, delete this one. Oh, here we go. So this is Flammy's new UI after that Blood Maul Slag Mines one. He's tracking more things, what his diseases are hitting exactly. He's got better raid frames as well on the left side there. It's a lot better. So again, making a better UI is a constant process. We're constantly changing our things. Right now, I think my UI is way too cluttered. I need to look at changing a couple things around with it as well. This was, I can't remember who it was. Shadowlance, yes, Shadowlance, the rogue, same thing. Combo points in the middle, this is fantastic. He's tracking his slice and dice, his ruptures. He's got raid frames off to the left side, probably a little bit too big for raid frames in my opinion, but whatever works for you. A lot of real estate around. You can see the bombs. You see the bombs on the right side here. Let's open with paint. These bombs right here. There's a slag bomb here and one here and one here. He can see them. He doesn't have giant friggin' windows over here blocking up the slag mines, and then he runs over them, and then he gets yelled at by his raid leader. He can see more. One thing he probably doesn't need to see is these things up here. Probably doesn't need to see his buffs, right? But it's personal preference. He has target's target, probably a focus frame as well, combo points right here, that kind of stuff. See you, Dennis. Have a good one. Okay. That's another good one. So here's another really good healer one, healer UI I want to show you guys. This is Dell. Dell's one of the really helpful paladins in our chat. Let me find it again. There it is. Okay. So same thing. So this is just straight up a healer UI with all of his WeakAuras. So, and he's also got an explanation of what's what. Let's turn up Doodle. So on the right side here is his personal buffs. So his aspect of the fox, his bloodlust, heroism, whatever, his divine protection, that's a personal cooldown, his bubble, weakened soul, blessing protection, whatever. Those are all right here. That's awesome. If he's running Holy Avenger, that's Holy Avenger right here. His wings, I'm guessing this is the amount of seconds left with wings. His trinkets, so when his trinkets proc, or his weapons proc, or whatever, right here. Disrupting war, obviously in the middle. If there's a silence coming, he can see, hey, silence coming, stop your casts. That's great. On the left side, he has all of his raid debuffs. So if there's a fixate on him, or if there's a cave-in, this one right here, or fixates, or he's standing in slag, or whatever, or there's a bleed debuff on him, or he's standing in ooze, or whatever. And here's this debuff right here is for Gruul, the big fireballs that come out on Mythic. He sees all of those things in the middle of his screen, right? This one obviously right here is that Enhanced Holy Shock? Is that one Enhanced Holy Shock? I don't know. Infusion of Light, when it's up, he's tracking his Light of Dawn timer, his Eternal Flame free timers. And now, this is what I talked about earlier. This right here, this entire line is WeakAuras tracking all of his abilities. You see, where are his bars? His bars are so tiny in the middle of his screen. Alita would never be able to see these, but that's okay, because he doesn't need to. He's got his keybinds memorized, and above his raid frames, which are right here, let me draw some raid frames for you guys there. There's some raid frames, there's another raid frame. That's how his raid frames look, essentially. He's got them right above his raid frames. Everything's centralized to the middle of his screen. That's where your eyes are. You don't need to, see, like if he had his personal buffs, these things, off on the far right side, and his trinkets and things over here, and his raid debuffs over here on the left side, and whatever else, that would not be a good thing. Obviously, you want it to the middle of your screen. What, you can't see? What can you not see? There, raid frames, there. But you guys can see everything else. John Madden, John Bloat, whatever. So again, that's a fantastic one. This is something that I like to adapt for my own UI because it's logical, it's efficient. Things that he doesn't need to track are obviously the right side here. There's a mass res button, so he doesn't have to go into his spell book every single time with things closed. So this is his UI again, but this time with things closed. There. This is a raid frame. So what's being tracked? Again, let's go back to Doodle mode. Again, same UI that I just showed you guys, that healer UI. He's got his bags fine. All the cooldowns for his raid are up here, because again, that's when you would want to avert your eyes. All of his abilities that are up. So he's got 4 seconds left on his Holy Prism. Crusader Strike is up. His cooldowns are all available. These are his raid frames. Everything's being tracked, right? You don't see any of he's got a proc here. I can't remember which proc it is, but he's got a proc here. No raid debuffs on him, and he's got a heroism. There. Perfect. I mean, that's great. Obviously, bags are taking up a lot of space right now, but things that are important are in the middle of your screen. Things that are not important, put somewhere away. Let's take a look at SCO's UI. Now, SCO's UI, this is what we talked about earlier. SCO, again, Method Player has a lot of things going on right now, right? He's got, let's take a look at some other UIs. Under Doodle mode. Yeah. So he's got a raid frames again. As a tank, is it important to know who's in range, what raiders are alive? Yes, of course it's important. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Yes? I know, we'll leave soon. So again, he's tracking a lot of cooldowns, a lot of personal cooldowns here, raid cooldowns that are on him. He's got a Hand of Sacrifice, a Vigilance, things that are around your character, how much damage are you taking, raid-wide timers over here, his debuffs here. Honestly, though, whatever works for you. Some players play with a lot of shit on their screen. Some players play with very little stuff on their screen. Whatever works for you. There's always room for improvement. There's WeakAuras, there's You know, there's raid cooldown stuff, there's whatever damage meters you want, there's threat meters. He's tracking threat here, the Sko and Trekkie. On the right side, tracking threat. So you obviously don't want to out-threat the other tank when it's your turn to, when it's not your turn to tank. Whatever works for you. There's a big cast bar for infesting spores. Find what works for you, right? Could his UI improve? Potentially, right? At the risk, like, would you ever change your UI mid-progression? You are working on a boss, and would you change your UI from night to night? No. Some of the best times to change your UI are on a weekend, when you can play the entire weekend, or I guess, for those of you that don't raid on the weekend, when you're not raiding, spend a couple of days doing LFRs or battlegrounds or reorganizing your UI, simply when I tell you guys to do keybinds. What's your opinion on your DPS UI? See, same kind of thing here. This is a pretty good one. Same kind of stuff. You know, his important... Let me go doodle mode. Important stuff is on the right, like his raid debuffs on the right side. You know, raid cooldowns when he's got a bop on with Devotion Aura, Aspect of the Fox when it's up. You know, more mage, like he's got all his mage procs on the left side. That's great. I mean, that's fantastic. As the raid frames off to the side here, my personal opinion, I think they're a little bit small, but if that works for you, that's fine. You got to just track what's important again, right? Just, again, use the middle of your screen for important stuff, the outside of your screen for less important things. Leave them off to the side there. So, that's good. Any other UIs I want to take a look at? So here's another really good tanking one. This one I really like for tanking. Let me load it up for you guys. Okay, this one is for tanking. Let me go... Okay, so this is Conrad's UI for tanking. This shows you some of his WeakAuras again, where they are. There. So he is a protection paladin. He's got his raid cooldowns on the left side there that you guys can see. Hopefully, yeah, you guys can see them. Here he is falling into phase 3 for Black End LFR. He's got his raid trims to the bottom right side. His abilities down to the bottom. But his important abilities, the ones that he's using all the time, his Judgment, Crusader Strike, Shield of the Righteous, Avenger Shield, that kind of stuff. They're all in the middle of his screen. In the middle, you can also see how many Holy Power he has. How many does he have right now? Well, clearly 3, because 3 of the 5 are lit up. That's great. Yeah, chat's off the left side. You know, again, centralized location for important things. Obviously, you don't want to quest log in the middle of your screen because it's not important. You can close those things too. He's got his damage meters, raid frames, again, abilities to the bottom where he doesn't need to see them. But no, that's good as well. There's some more here. Slag bombs, big raid warnings that are in the middle of your screen, good. Things that are important to see. There's slag bombs coming out. Is that important to know for a healer DPS tank? Absolutely, because you don't want to be standing underneath them. That's good. As a Holy Paladin myself, I would appreciate UI. See, that's a pretty good one too. I like this one, Saltire. Yeah, pull timers. Like, the thing, like, these debuffs things, or these buff trackers, do you guys need to, you know, to see all these buffs and debuffs? I don't think so. Like, I don't think you need to see all these things. Raid frames is fine. It's pretty standard to have your raid frames here, just under your cast bar. It's pretty good. And you got your buffs. I like this UI. Got all your buffs to click. I mean, my own UI could use some adjustment, right? I may switch back to the WeakAuras, you know, type of abilities and have more of a minimalistic UI. There was 1 week I went with 0 action bars, absolutely nothing. I went with all WeakAuras. So like Dell's UI that I showed you guys earlier, all my Holy Shock, my cooldowns were just right above my raid frames. You know, my little gems and things. Like, everything's memorized. I know what's keybound. I don't have to find and click things because it was all memorized for me. What other UIs did I have here to take a look at? Here's another very minimalistic one. You can see a lot, right? You're leveling, you're questing, whatever. You can see a ton. Again, the important abilities for this healer are right up top here, followed by the other ones. I'm sure they're banned because I'm sure they're not, you know, being clicked abilities. But again, that's a very pretty UI. I showed you guys the K2 UI. Let me show you guys the K2 UI really quick here. I mean, so you have UIs that are you have some UIs that are functional, right? Like, these functional UIs help you a lot with rating. I do want to show you guys, where is it? K2 UI. Maybe this one. Here's another UI. This one is also very pretty. Okay, check out this one. This is a YouTube video of another UI. It looks awesome. It's beautiful. This is a really, really sexy UI. I mean, if you're not a raider, you can do whatever you want here. There's another dungeon, but I mean, the talent section is very pretty. Yeah, there's another raid. There's a raid setting again. Raid times in the middle. Eclipse timers in the bottom middle there. There, spec talents and glyphs. Again, it's very pretty looking. Is it super functional for a raid setting? Yes and no. I think it's also a little bit broken. Again, spec talent glyphs. There's another really good video that I showed you guys. Oh, there it is. Perfect. That's the video I was looking for. Check this out. You know, you just finished a battleground. Look how awesome this is. It looks like a completely different game. Completely different. Hunter. Let's go look for Hunter stuff here. Yeah, there's chat. Here, look at this one. Your character info, spellbook abilities, all that stuff being scrolled in the middle. The character portrait UI looks a lot better. Like, it's a very, very pretty UI. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to do something like this, but you have to find the time. There's talents. Which spec would you like to be? This is incredible. Super, super pretty. Again, find what UI works for you. Not every UI works for everybody. I mean, I could not work with SCO's UI or Psycho's UI. I need to have a UI that works for me as a Holy Paladin. So, hopefully you guys had some of those tips. I can take a look at one or two more UIs here before I need to head off. And I'll be back potentially streaming tonight again still. Silver UI 2 is pretty awesome looking as well. You haven't seen it already. Yeah, for sure. That one's under Kate UI. The one that I just showed you guys was Kate UI under WoW interface. One sec here. Vudex UI, again, same kind of thing here. You know, this is important stuff in the middle. Let's go under doodle mode. So, something else for raid leaders or people that are using cooldowns like DPS or healers. On the left side, right here, is an add-on called Angry Assignments. I use Angry Assignments as well. Toggle window, let's say send display there. There's my Angry Assignments. Oops, shit. There. So, on a fight like Orgorger, I know the very first acid torrent, prime time will shield people. On the second time, we'll have an SLT. On the third one, we're going to have Trank. Then, we're going to have Barrier on the range, and alert you will Smoke Bomb. This is important for knowing what cooldowns. Instead of having a different monitor to look at, when there's, like I have a spreadsheet, like my guild uses spreadsheets as well for when to use cooldowns. Where's Orgorger here? So here we go. Here's my spreadsheet for Orgorger, Mythic. These are the cooldowns that we use for every acid torrent. This is the cooldowns that go on the tank. This is for every transition. This is the interrupt order right here. This over here on the left side is the order in which Orgorger rolls, because we force him to roll that way. Instead of looking at my opposite screen here and looking at every single time or memorizing it, I have it on my screen as well. Not taking up a ton of real estate, but it's off to the side where something is a little bit less important. I know on the first acid torrent, I bop the tank, Blessing Protection them. And on the later ones, I can do something else. But Angry Assignments is a great add-on for those of you that are raiders, or suggested to your raid leaders. Check it out. You can share these. You can make them really pretty. What other really pretty ones do I have here? Here's another really good one. There. This is every single cooldown on Gruul Mythic. On the first one, Ironbark on Deadman. Second one, Schomburg Sacks Deadman. Third slice, Sparty Bops Deadman. Then we go to a new tank. It's all colors, pinks, whatever. Great little add-on for raid leaders, whatever. One sec here. Oh, here's another good one. This is an old Lei Shen one. An old Lei Shen UI. For those of you that still run Lei Shen. Like, this is fine. This is totally fine for Holy Paladins. You have your cooldowns in a good spot. You have, your boss rooms off to the right side there. This is totally fine. Play around with new things. Like, look at other Holy Paladin UIs. Godric, thanks for subbing, by the way. And see what works for you. Look at other good Holy Paladins. If you guys follow Shuttle on Twitter or look at Dell's UI, those are really good UIs too for Paladins. You constantly have to change things around and make sure you find what works for you. I mean, share your UIs. Maybe I'll have... maybe that's what we need. Midgets, if you're around, can we start a UI thread on the forums? Share your UI. That's what I want. Or one of the mods. Set up a thread for the stream forums of share your UI. Write down class, spec, and that's it. And your UI. People can sort of give input and what add-ons you use or what you don't do, that kind of stuff. Natsu, I don't have time for the interview, unfortunately, tonight. I don't. I have to head off to IKEA again, so... What is that funny thing? That was me slamming my mouse and my fiance laughing, because she's hilarious. What do you think of yours? Toying with it actually here. Yeah, same thing. I mean, this is what I meant, right? At the top here, you have the same thing that Dell does. Doodle mode. The same thing that Dell does. You're tracking all of your shit right in the top here. And I know the Paladin forums have these kind of UIs. So right here, you've got all your stuff being tracked. You know what you could do? Just get rid of everything here. Just get rid of everything here, if you're really pro like that. You got your boss timers over here, that's fine. Look how much real estate is available. Look how much he can see. He's got his rate frames off to the right side, which is great. Meters, not that they're important. He can see who he's tracking. And over here, he's tracking his own procs, which is good. I mean, I think that's a fantastic UI. It's a good one. If this works for you, then use it. And when you're making adjustments, make small adjustments from there. But I think the sizing is right too. So where Alita, where she had the giant scaling of her UI because her vision's not that great, Shakasu, because as a young, very little kid, I mean, you're in your 20s, whatever, your vision's good. His UI is scaled down a little bit more. So you can see more, right? He doesn't need these giant-ass raid frames. Thanks for subbing, Saltire. Let's see here. WeakAuras showing not available Christmas. No. Renchi, your add-on. Oh, here's another. This is a good Druid one, and this is again a little bit more Druid themed as well. Same thing. Blood Legion cooldown off to the left side there. Raid frames in the middle. I like this. I like this one too. Again, get ideas from other players, see what they do, and say, hey, I love that. I want that. Or I like the mini map, or I like the raid frames, or I like the procs or WeakAuras or whatever. This is a great Druid one because again, it's orange. It's orange like Druids are. He's got his stuff in the middle here, his raid frames, his abilities, his procs. Where does he have any of his abilities right now? Nowhere, right? I mean, I guess he has them over here for some of his important ones, but again, it's most memorized. You play a Resto Druid, so you have your stuff keybound or mouse over macros, right? Like, I don't have my... If I'm healing... yeah, again, sorry, Natsu. I don't know if sorry, Natsu. I hope I didn't hurt his feelings. Like, when I'm healing... Oh. She's only 24. You just have really bad vision then, that's fine. Here's me targeting myself. Here's me targeting nobody. I'm still healing myself. Or I'm, casting spells on myself. Or this is my Eternal Flame. So my UI could use a little bit of work. My UI's taken a big overhaul for the past few years. Let me see if I can find my old UI. Anyway, any other questions for UIs before I start winding down? I know it's a quick little Coach's Corner tonight, but that was the goal here. Any more questions regarding UIs? So find what UI works for you. There's a ton of great examples. Please feel free to share them. Start to take a look at this one. I'll take a look at more later on, but I have to head off shortly. Again, number one rule, middle of your screen is prime real estate. For your relevant spec and class, use the middle section for important things, like important procs or cooldowns or whatever. The less important something is, move it to more of the outside of your screen, and then go from there. But use a lot of real estate here. Any PvP UIs? I don't have any. So with PvPers, PvPers will typically have, if you're a really competitive PvPer, you will not have add-ons. Your UI will be the default raid frames, the default stuff. Let me see if I can get a default thing going here for you. Give me one sec for the PvPers. Let's go to Orcs Party. Let's go Orcs Party with no add-ons. Let me just turn everything off here for Orcs Party. Give me one sec, guys. There, disable all. That works. Perfect. So with PvPers, I'm going to log on my horde character really quickly. Because you don't use add-ons in competitive PvP, you have multiple icons. So when your trinket's on cooldown, or you've used an ability, or your something else, damn. Okay, if I can put up some more bars here and stuff. Yeah, Voodoo's showing here, but on the bottom of my screen here, you see my little abilities, right? You'll have multiples of the same ability being shown. So they'll have multiple PvP trinkets or multiple healing stuff, or here's another example. Here's how PvPers will have it set up. They'll have 2 or 3 of the same ability being shown, so in their peripheral vision, even though they're looking around here, in their peripheral vision, they see that something's gone off cooldown. I don't know what cooldown stuff I have here. Or whatever. Like, it just, they see more versions of it. It's a lot easier to see in your peripheries. I should probably make a VOD on this session. There'll always be VODs on this zigzag. There will always be VODs on Coach's Corner. Always. What RP add-on do you use when you go to Moonguard? Anyway, anything else here? Did you just move your cast bar and LVY to the middle of your screen? I can't remember what add-on I did. I used them at the middle of my screen for LVY, but I used something. Yes, disable, that's fine. Oh, just cancel. Just fine, load anyway. Oh god, whatever. What did I just do? You're level 22, you don't have any cooldowns. Whatever, doesn't matter. Mumble, thanks for resubbing. We can talk more UIs later on. I've just disabled all my UIs. Perfect. That's what I meant, though. So for those of you that are PvPers, you'll see multiple copies. So if Avenging Wrath, for example, you up another Avenging Wrath. Yeah, this is what I mean. So when you use a big cooldown, or you want to see what's on cooldown, there. So it just copies over. You see more of it, or you'll have 4 of them in a row. So you know that section, that cooldown's been used. That's how PvPers will typically set up their UIs. Where's my devotion aura? And yeah, this is a very basic, without LUI. There you go. Disable them, you're on the wrong profile. Okay, well, whatever. PvPers make macros for certain rotation abilities with show tool for major cooldowns as well. Yeah, for sure. A lot of it's just straight up macros. So where some players will use a lot of add-ons, you can make macros doing the same thing. For those of you that use Click, for example, which helps you heal on click, you can do, or a mouse over macro, whatever. Here, same thing. So whatever I hover over with my Holy Shock macro, where's my Holy Shock macro? That's what I'm going to hit. So if I want to heal my Pecker here, Pecker's the Majestic, I hover over him. I guess I can't hover over my Pecker. I can just pat my Pecker. What about Gilrin? Maybe I can heal Gilrin. There. If I hover over Gilrin or target at him, then I will... There. And now he's got an Eternal Flame on him. That's a mouse over heal, right? I don't have him targeted. There. And there's another mouse over. Perfect. So you can see Eternal Flame is on him now. For Druids, by the way, whatever works. Okay. Another use of that part is you can have macro that is this on the Alliance or opponent. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, tournaments don't allow add-ons. That's exactly it. Like, you don't use add-ons in PvP. You do in some PvP, but you don't in tournaments, right? Because they don't want any cheating add-ons. What was the UI with the amazing animations? It looks like LVY. That was called Kate UI. Kate UI, you can look it up on YouTube. It's on a WoW interface. I think it's broken. I haven't tested it myself, but I wanted to show it to you guys at some point this week. Okay, that's it for Coach's Corner, guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for submitting your UIs as well. I know I went through a bunch of them. Again, hopefully you learned and took some ideas for your own UIs. It's a constant changing process. Again, the real estate in the middle of your screen is the most important. Free up as much as you can. Make your character visible. Imagine there is tons of fire all around you and you need to see it. It's like a little zigzag or a hopscotch of fires. You need to see all these things on your screen so you can be more proactive, so you can plan ahead. Knowing that this little fire is coming towards me, right? Knowing that it's coming towards me, I need to see it and not have my screen cluttered with too much information. So only have relevant information on your screen for your relevant spec or whatever. With the LVY cast bar in the middle of my screen, I can't remember what it was. I don't have LVY turned on right now. It's actually off. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back later on tonight. This will be VODed, whatever. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night. Be excellent to each other. We'll talk more about WeakAuras later on. If you have more questions, I'll always be in game. Ask me any questions whenever. Thanks again, Tally, for the host, and congrats on your 4 years. Good night, guys. Be excellent to each other. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all that fun jazz. Yeah, and I'll see you guys later on for more streaming later on tonight. Have a good night. Be excellent to each other. And as always, live your life heroically. Good night, guys.